Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Marketing Masterclass webinar from MBS. It's another one in the series, and this time we're going to be looking at making the most of MBS. The webinar itself should last no more than an hour. Attendees' microphones are muted for the sound experience. Obviously, we want to make sure that people can hear what's being said. And likewise, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat or the question box, and we will follow those up after the webinar. We might not have time for questions at the end, so just bear in mind, we will actually come back to you should you have any questions around MBS. The webinar itself today, it's going to be focused quite heavily on tips and tricks on how to get the most of your subscription from MBS. And my colleague Elliott's going to be going through a lot of those with some successes that we've seen through this happening through other manufacturers through the platform of late. And then we're going to be looking at some new features and obviously a demonstration of the tools as well. So hopefully you'll find it useful. Speakers for today, I'm Lee Jones. I'm the head of manufacturer solutions at MBS. I've been with the company for 4 years now. Prior to that, I worked for over 20 years in the construction product manufacturing sector. So I've been a customer of MBS's, and now I'm on this side of the fence. So got quite a good view of how things are from a manufacturer's perspective, but why MBS do things the way they do, and been bringing a lot of that knowledge through the platform, and hopefully it's helping you manufacturers. And likewise, if you've got any questions, I've probably experienced a lot of the things that you've gone through, so be happy to have a chat. Joining me is my colleague Elliott McClurry. Elliott is the customer success specialist at MBS, and Elliott's going to be giving you a demonstration and presentation on some of the things that we've been doing recently with some of those manufacturers. Just a little bit about who MBS are. MBS is the National Building Specification. We were set up approximately 50 years ago by some members of the Royal Institute of British Architects to standardise specifications in the UK. Prior to that, there was no standard specs, and things were quite disjointed and really just weren't efficient. Through that 50 years, there was a lot of other tools brought online, notably Reba Product Selector, which allowed manufacturers to get their products formatted into data templates and with different marketing collateral to allow them to be added directly to the specification. Today, the platform is completely cloud-based. Product Selector was replaced by Source, which we'll show you in a little bit, a couple of years ago. And today, anybody that's involved in the specification, whether it's at the discovery stage, whether it's actually through the design, through the BIM tools, or actually through the written specification, or even the material information that's required through construction, handover and in use, MBS is influencing and actually involved with all the relevant stakeholders across that timeline. So guarantee that anybody that you'd need to deal with or would need to have access to your product information as an MBS customer, and it just makes their job a lot easier. So our customers are your customers effectively. We've got 4 key tools effectively, or offerings that we can put out to the manufacturing community. One is our IBA CPD, which I'm going to cover all of these in depth later in the presentation. We've got MBS Chorus, which is the online specification tool, and MBS Source, which is an online search engine for construction products, materials and systems, as well as other different collateral revolving around manufacturers. And then quite new to the party, we actually introduced MBS Partner Marketing, and I'll go into detail as to what that is later through the presentation. MBS itself, over those past 50 years, has built up quite a large customer base. The actual users through the platform now is just shy of 250,000. It's well over 230,000. Now, for most manufacturers, historically, and I've been guilty of this in the past, we've just associated MBS with the RIBA, and likewise just assumed that it's for architects. As you can quite easily see on the graph there, only half of MBS's customers are actually in the architectural side of things. That's still quite a heavy number of architectural practices, and because MBS Chorus is the only specification tool in the UK, guaranteed that the majority of the ones that you're going to be dealing with will be using Chorus to write specifications. But likewise, anybody else that's involved in writing specs, whether it's quantity surveyors, engineers, landscape architects, even down to local councils through government work, etc., are all using MBS in some way, shape or form. We have over 200,000 hours typically each month spent in the platform writing specifications, and we've got a snapshot there of some of the sort of top tier customers that actually use the platform, and there's well over 4,000 other businesses that they're actually using that. Nearly all of the AJ Top 100 subscribe to MBS. We've got a really high social media presence as well as the webinar reaches that we do. The webinars have actually been a massive success. We redeveloped these at the beginning of the pandemic, obviously, as everything went digital. We've been doing them for a long time beforehand, but we now easily gain over 1,000 attendees for each one, and we've got quite a robust program throughout the year. So if you want to know more about those, or if you want to get involved in one, even drop us a note and we'd be more than happy to talk to you. The website itself, through MBS's own operational website, mbs.com, or actually through the platform, is getting thousands upon thousands of hits and views every day as well. So yeah, it's a good place to be seen, and if you're a manufacturer, it's a good place to get your products listed. Just a little bit about MBS, and the reason this slides in, I suppose, is a lot of our manufacturer clients, particularly the sort of larger scale SMEs and the larger businesses, are going to be put under the CSRD regulations from next year. That's the Sustainability Reporting Directive. So anything that's non-financial from a reporting point of view, particularly if your businesses are headed from mainland Europe, you're going to have to start to look at your supply chain and report on the emissions that are impacted from those. But similarly, businesses that are smaller or UK based specifically, sustainability is at the fore, and people are trying to reduce their emission count on that pathway to net zero. On that note, MBS is actually a carbon neutral business. We were certified against PAS 2060, which is the demonstration of carbon neutrality, at the beginning of this year, and that's against all 3 scopes of the greenhouse gas protocol emissions. So it's our energy fleet, but also our entire operation and review of our supply chain has been included in that as well. We've received a 56% reduction, or achieved a 56% reduction actually in our emissions since we started measuring this, which was back in 2019. And as well as international carbon schemes, which have all been gold standard VCS accredited, we've actually supported the planting of over 5,000 trees in the northeast against 2 forests near to our offices, which is obviously helping support local biodiversity and ecosystems. So on that note, if your sustainability credentials are important to you, and this is something that you're looking for in a partner moving forward, you can be rest assured that MBS, in dealing with us, it's not going to have any negative impact to your own carbon count. Getting on with the rest of the webinar then, we're going to be looking at making the most of MBS. And with this, I'd like to bring into the meeting my colleague Elliott, and Elliott's going to run through a case study presentation with you on some of the things that he's been doing with our clients to date. Elliott, over to you.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction, Lee. Obviously, I'm going to be running through a bit of an MBS success story, just going to be discussing a customer that I've been working with personally, and seeing the advantages of sort of making the most out of your current subscription with us. So again, just a quick introduction on myself. My name's Elliott, and I'm a customer success specialist here at MBS. Been with the company over 1.5 years now, and the idea of my role is basically to help manufacturers get the most out of their current subscription, hopefully in turn help boost their analytics as much as possible as well. What I'm going to be covering today is how to improve your MBS content using the partner platform. So how to improve your profile, your products and support and documents. Then going to be looking at how it looks live on MBS Source, so looking at a live example of a customer I've been working with and how that sort of relates to the updates they've made. And then finally, the outcome of the changes that have led to sort of better analytics and show you sort of the benefits of updating all of that content there. So now I'm going to move on to the partner platform demo. So this is for those of you that haven't logged in already, this is the MBS Partner Platform. I'm just going to run through this and sort of show you a few tips and tricks as to how to get the most out of it. So I'm going to run through the main 2 areas here in terms of company and MBS source listings, and just show you a few areas that I definitely recommend updating if you haven't already, just to get the most out of your subscription. So if I start within the company and the overview, this is essentially the makeup of your actual profile itself. So you can see straight away you've got things like company logos, you've then got your banner image just to make your profile page look a bit more appealing. You've then got your company name, company tagline, if applicable, if you've got one, and then company description, so quite a bit about who you are and what you do. You've then got trade names, which is an area I definitely recommend utilizing. This is essentially anywhere that a specifier could search for your company or your products. Then you've got your company's sort of basic information, so your website, email address, and phone number. So just make sure that you've got all of those filled in and up to date. You've then got your social media and website links. So you can see you can add in all of your social media channels just to show a bit more sort of awareness. And when you do add all of these in, within your analytics, you can actually see where the outbound clicks go to. And then you can also utilize up to 10 additional website links. And again, I would recommend utilizing all 10 if you can, because when we do look at the analytics, you can actually see where those outbound clicks go. Finally, for your profile homepage, you've then got featured content. Obviously, you can see for my dummy accounts here, you've got sort of nothing featured there. But as and when you are looking on yours, you can choose up to 4 products, up to 4 case studies, and up to 4 pieces of literature. So essentially, this is the first 4 of each that someone will see before they click view all on products or case studies or literature. So the first 4 that they see when they first land on your profile homepage. So those are sort of the profile updates I'd recommend. You've then got addresses and contacts. So what I'd recommend in here is just adding in sort of any addresses that you do have, just to show a bit more sort of brand awareness, show where you're located. Also, what a lot of manufacturers have actually started doing, which they've seen benefits from it as well. As much as it does say create new address, if I click on that, a lot of manufacturers have started adding in a location and then creating a contact and adding in sort of regional sales contacts or regional specification contacts. So if you do have those within the business, it might be worthwhile considering adding those in as well. So those are the main sort of updates to make on your profile itself. And then the majority of the updates that I definitely recommend will be in the MBS source listing section. So the first one we've got here is products. Now you can see there's a few different test products and things in here, but just click on the first one as an example here. There's 2 main areas I'd recommend working on within all of your products. So you can see we've added a new feature in here, which is product completeness. And essentially, it's just getting your product up to the best possible stage. So you can see you've got the general tab here, which is the tab that I'm already in. And then it gives you a breakdown of what percentages you're at. So it's a case of trying to get up to a full 100% for each subheading. So product general for this particular one's at 16%. And it's a case of filling in all of the blanks to get as much information in here as possible. So product type, product summary, and so on. And a section definitely worthwhile working on within every single product is this product keyword section. So you can use up to 15. And I would recommend utilizing all 15 if you can, because it does help directly boost the SEO of your products. So essentially what you want to be typing in here is whatever you feel like a specifier is going to type into the search bar to find this particular product that I'm working on currently. And again, even if they are slightly similar, it's definitely worthwhile utilizing all 15 because it directly drives the SEO of your product. So filling in those blanks, you've then got MBS source filters. So I'd highly recommend making sure you filled in all of these if applicable, because then you'll be appearing in all of the filtered searches. So if you've got your colors, your finish, material, sizes, warranties, and so on, fill in all those out so that you appear in all of those filtered searches. And then finally, you've got environmental information. So filling out all of this information. So your country, material origin, your recyclability, recycled content, and so on. Getting as much information in here as possible will definitely help your visibility of your products and should hopefully end up helping you get specified more as well. Also on your product completeness, you've then got associated content on the right hand side here. So you can see you can link images, you can link BIM, you can link third-party certificates, case studies, and literature. So to actually do that, you would click on associated content here. And then you can see there's none linked for either of these here. So first of all, images. To add any image, you just either drag and drop into this section here or click select from computer and it would open up your files and you can add a nice image in there. With BIM, when you click on the digital objects, you'll have a drop down and it'll be available, and it's simply just a case of clicking the circle and then assigning and closing to that particular product. That'll link your BIM. And then finally, for case studies, certificates, and literature, you would then scroll down and you can see here, currently I've got 4 case studies and 1 piece of literature as an example. To link those to this product, simply click on that. It'll give you a drop down of the case studies in this example that are available. And if these relate to this particular product, tick the box. So I'd recommend trying to get at least one certificate, one case study, and one piece of literature linked to each product if possible. So those are the main product updates I'd recommend. And then finally, you've got MBS specification. So just making sure that you've got as much information in here as possible. The only difference with this one is if there is anything you need to add in, it would simply be a case of clicking the 3 dots and adding a comment in there. Obviously, majority of this tends to be done by the MBS data authors, but if any edits need to be done, or if you feel like there's anything missing, you can add the comments in there. So in terms of your products, it's getting the completeness up as high as possible to get best product information in here, and then definitely utilize that product keyword section to boost the SEO of each individual product. If I then go back to the product page, once you've made all of your edits, you can see there's this verification feature now as well. So this is something that just gives the specifier peace of mind that you've actually verified your product within the last 6 months. So it works on a traffic light system. So if you're green, you've actually verified it within the last 6 months. If you're amber, it's between 6 and 12 months when you last verified. And if you're red, it's over 12 months that you verified last. So it's just a case of making sure that all of your products are up to date and verified within the last 6 months. There's 2 ways of doing this. If you want to verify all, so you can see in this instance, I've got 655 sort of example of products. If you want to verify all and you know there's no sort of updates to be made, you can click the 3 dots up the top here and verify all specification information. So that'll verify all 655 products there. Alternatively, if you know there's some that need updating, if I click this little box next to products here, you can see it's highlighting 26 that are on page 1. But if the top 2, for example, need editing, I can unhighlight those 2, click actions, and then verify those 24 that I've highlighted. So you can verify it on a product by product basis as well, leaving the ones that you know you need to make updates to. So those are the main product enhancements to make. And then finally, you've got support and documents. So to upload any new support and documents, it would be within this area. So this is where you would upload case studies, literature, or third-party certificates. So I'd definitely recommend trying to get as many of these uploaded as you can, and then linking them to the particular products as well. Just to mention, also within key case studies and literature, you do get a keyword section that helps utilize the SEO feature as well. So again, you do get 15 just like your products. So I'd recommend using all 15 on both of these. So then as and when you link it to your products, you should have a lot more keywords in the background. So your product should appear much, much higher in the searches. So that's it for the MPP demo, the partner platform demo. I'll now go back to the presentation. First, the manufacturer that I want to discuss is Latchways PLC today, an MSA brand. And I've been in touch with these for quite a long time now. So we spoke to each other and a couple of colleagues of ours. We spoke to them back in 2021. We discussed having a full review meeting just to make sure they're utilizing the subscription as much as possible. They did feel like their analytics weren't in the best place possible. So follow on from a meeting in sort of middle of 2021, we then discussed all of the improvements that I'd recommend making on the partner platform. From that point, they then actioned them and making sure they were doing things correctly. They did get in touch a couple of times, just asking a few questions here and there. And the following slides are going to show you sort of the actions that they put through, and then helps us. So if I just quickly go to the MBS source profile itself, so you can see where their profile's at. This is their live MBS profile. So this is Latchway's live profile. So this is how it looks now that they've made all of the updates are recommended. So you can see they've got all of their company information in the top left-hand corner here. They've got all of their social media channels pulled through. Got a nice logo and a nice banner image on their profile. When you scroll down, you can see they're a CPD provider, and scrolling down further, you can see they've chosen their featured products, their featured case studies, and their featured literature. And they're also utilizing their trade names there at the bottom. When I click into the products more specifically at the top here, you can then see all of the products have been verified within the last 6 months, and they've updated all of this product information as best they can. So if you click in each one, you can see the individual product information, and you can see the extent of the amount of information they've tried to fill in, which has definitely helped boost their analytics further. Looking at the profile as well, they've also got third-party certificates, which I do know they have linked to their products. They've also got case studies, literature, and then finally in the About Us section, they've got the head office details. You've got Paul and Shay's contact details in there as well, and then they're utilizing all those additional website links, so they're getting the most out of it and trying to put as much information as possible in there. And as and when any new features come aboard, like that verification feature, you can see they were straight on that and got their products verified straight away. So from all of those updates that they've made, this is where sort of we look at their analytics side of things. So in Q1 and Q2, they weren't having the greatest of results. And following our meeting, Q3, their impressions and views were quite similar to the first 2 quarters, but the ad at the spec had near doubled at that point. So from the changes, the initial changes that they made, they didn't quite have the time to update everything initially. But from those few changes that they made initially, that ad to spec numbers had actually doubled in Q3. Come Q4, still quite similar, but the views were increasing quite substantially, and the ad at the spec was rising, not quite as high as it did. It didn't double, but it was still quite rising quite a little bit from Q3. Looking at 2022, Q1, the impressions doubled again. So start of the year, they made further updates. We had another meeting together. The views had increased further. Ad at the spec, again, were quite similar, but the impressions themselves, so they're being seen in searches a lot more due to that SEO work that they put in. Q2, impressions and views slightly increased. And then the ad at the spec number doubled again because they focused a lot of their updates early Q1 on updating a lot of the product keywords, linking case studies, certificates and literature to the products, and it doubled again their ad at the spec numbers, which was great to see. And then Q3, just the quarter just gone, essentially made a few updates again, verified all of their products, and they see their impressions grew, views grew, and ad at the spec stayed quite similar, but they had seen a massive increase sort of quarter on quarter. So they have started to sort of level out now with all of the updates they've done, but they are getting regular ad at the spec numbers, which is great to see come through. So the key takeaways off the back of this is just to ensure that you're fully utilizing your subscription with us, ensure that you have everything up to date and all of your profile, products, support and documents fully up to date, and you're utilizing your subscription as much as possible. If you're not too sure if you are or if you aren't, feel free to contact your success or account managers to discuss any improvements, and essentially we can book in a Teams call together and run through things and make any recommendations in exactly the same way that I did with Latchways, and hopefully we can help you boost your analytics a bit further as well. Basically make sure you've got all of your content up to date, and make sure as and when any new features come in, you're making the most of it. So just have those regular meetings with your success or account managers, and hopefully you should be in the best place possible. If you do have any questions, feel free to send them in to myself, your account managers or your success managers. We'll help you out wherever need be. And then finally, if you do want to contact anyone, here's some contact details as well. So that's pretty much the full run through from me. Anything back to you, Lee?
Thanks very much, Elliott. Really great, actually, to see somebody that specializes in this day to day and helping the manufacturers get the most of the subscription, but ultimately get seen more. And I think the example there through Latchways is sort of one of the flagship sort of examples of where a manufacturer's started, and they were having some success, obviously, but it's been completely turned around to the point now where their statistics have actually gone through the roof. So if that's something you want to do, by all means, Elliott's put the contact details on that previous slide. Feel free to make a call. We'll have the manufacturer contact details at the end of the presentation as well. But likewise, if it's something that you're thinking of now, just drop a question in the chat and somebody will be able to help. I thought it would be best to actually show you the platforms and how they work themselves. So from a user's perspective, obviously Elliott's just gone through quite in depth in how you can actually build up your profile in the background and get the most of that. But what does that mean to the user? So what we can see on the screen here is MBS Source. MBS Source is our online search engine for construction products and materials. We're on the home screen here, so there's a little video about how MBS works. You can see some of the recently viewed products. So if I was a specifier, these would be the last things that I'd taken a look at, just for ease of reference. There's featured manufacturers, which is part of the partner marketing scheme that we've got, which I'll cover in a little while, and featured products as well. We've then got popular categories, so the stuff that's being looked at or specified the most. These things will change as and when in line with the use of those through the platform. We've got featured case studies, and then got some tools as to how MBS can help you. So some of this is knowledge articles like what is the golden thread and how MBS source and industry standards work together and so forth. MBS also has quite a high number of BIM tools and guides. So from a manufacturer, your sort of input really with this in most cases is going to be just uploading the digital objects, whether that's Revit files, ArchiCAD, even CAD files, which are still widely used up into the platform. But from a user's perspective, a lot of people will use the MBS plugin, and they can download all of these things from here. We've also got the MBS BIM object standard. So if you're a manufacturer that's looking to create your own BIM content, this is effectively a how-to guide as to how to build that to the highest quality. One of the things that MBS's reputation is renowned for, particularly with BIM, is the quality of the content. So we make sure that everything goes through a strict process, and we can also do a certification scheme for your own content if you wanted to make sure that stuff that you've created yourself is actually to the high standard. A bit like sending your car in for an MOT. Our team will take your content, we'll go through a step-by-step process and assessing it, and we'll give you the feedback as to what works and what doesn't, and what might be a bit of an advisory area and so forth. But the platform itself, you can search through categories. So if you're looking at fenestration for windows or roofing products or coatings and paint, that kind of thing, or you can search by manufacturers. You might have specifiers that were maybe just in a meeting with a manufacturer and they can go and find them directly through there. But the majority of searches will go through the organic search in the toolbar here. So if I was going to look for something, I don't know, say we were doing a gym and we were going to look for changing room seating, we can just type that in, hit search, and source will bring back a load of results based on what I've searched. So what you can see here, the keywords from that it's brought the results back from, there's over 1,000 results. We can then filter that down specifically by the types that we're looking for. And in this case, it's linked seats. So I'm thinking of maybe putting some seats into my project for a gym area, changing room facilities and so forth. What you can see on these here now is we've actually got these color-coded dots. This is a RAG system, so it's red, amber, green. This is something that's aligning to what the industry is asking for, and particularly with things like the Code for Construction Product Information. Specifiers want to know how up-to-date the information is that they're getting from manufacturers. Obviously, from the Building a Safer Future report, it was one of the sort of downfalls of product information being held online. So MBS has addressed that through this system. And you can see here, you can scroll down and take a look at pretty much everything that's there. If we just pick on one of the products, you can see we've got a wall-mounted seat here from Boyko. They've got third-party certificates attached to those. So Chaz, they've got the different ISOs, so 14001 for their sustainability practices and 9001 for their internal efficiency. There's a lot of different things that you can look for. We can jump to application, specification data, third-party certificates, and take a look directly at those. We've got the magic add to spec button here, which I'll show you how that works in a moment. But with the data, what we do is we actually structure this in a true digital machine readable format. So a lot of manufacturers will tend to provide information in PDFs, which is great because you can get all that information in one little place where you can download. But what PDFs don't really allow is that communication from one device to the next. So we make everything machine readable. And by that, we've got properties, which are the titles, and then we've got the attributes, which are the data that are actually associated to that. For an application, this is something, again, along things that the industry has been asking for and also aligns to the Code for Construction Product Information, is understanding where a product can be used. Now, for a changing room seat, it's not that critical, but if it was something like a fire door, for example, or a roll of insulation, you're going to want to know specifically where that particular product can and can't be used. Insulation materials, for example, come in sheets or rolls quite often, and looking at it as a physical product, you might not know if it goes in a wall, floor, ceiling, roof, whatever. So getting the application in there is paramount. We then go to the description, and we can add things like features and benefits. So some of your marketing information can go into there. We've then got general information, which powers the filter. So this is things like finish, material, sizes. And then we start to get into the specification information. Now, the first thing that MBS do when we list your product is we'll actually classify the product to Uniclass and the Common Arrangement to Work sections. So the Common Arrangement to Work sections are what most manufacturers will know as the MBS building spec classifications. Today, it's roughly a 50-50 split between the two. Uniclass was launched back in 2015. It was a government-funded project, and today MBS still manage and author the classification system for Uniclass. If it's a BIM project in particular, which the majority of projects are now, I think if we look at some of the research that we do through our digital reports that come out annually, it's over 70% of projects now in the industry are typically done using a BIM process. And likewise, the UK BIM framework actually recommends that it's Uniclass as a classification. The reason for is it breaks it down a lot more clear as a hierarchical tree than CORE's used to. But as a result, because the industry is the industry and some people are slow to adopt change, we're seeing the mix of both specifications being used at the moment. So we'll classify to both, which then when we're in the spec tool will allow your products to be seen regardless of what format the specifier is using. We then get into the specification data, and through that classification, there's actually a specific data template for every single product type. So if it's a roofing tile, if it's a seat, if it's a piece of sanitary ware, such as a toilet, or even if it's a fire door, it will have its own bespoke template with required fields in it. For example, if it was a piece of insulation, it's going to have U values, thermal performance properties, and so forth. But a chair's not going to have that. So the templates do alter, and they are different for each product. So there's well over 50,000 different templates, I think, that we've got. So a lot of the hard work's done, and structuring information can be made quite easy. We have environmental information, particularly around this, we're asking manufacturers for embodied carbon. So if that's something that you do have figures for, please get them uploaded into your MBS listings. The specifiers are looking for these, and we're being asked for them more and more on a day-to-day basis, particularly with the route to net zero. And likewise with the third-party certificates, having all the relevant standard conformancy is absolutely paramount, obviously from a safety point of view, and making sure that people are buying a quality product that's going to do what they're expecting. But likewise, if you've got an EPD, these are being looked for as well. So get those up. If your competitors haven't got them on there and you have, it's only going to be a USP. Then we can get down to your literature and your case studies. But adding these to the spec, I'm just going to jump into Chorus, and this is the spec tool that we were talking about. So I'm looking at a demo project here. It's just a dummy sample that we use. And to actually add a specification, we can just click on here. So this might be, I don't know, say, a school or a new gym complex, or it could even just be a really high-end house that's got its own internal gym. We can put changing rooms, seating in here, and then we would pick the content set that we were looking for. And this is where I'm talking about that difference between Uniclass and CORE's. Coincidentally, MBS isn't just represented in the UK, we've got reach all around the world. So you can see that we've got content there listed on my screen from Canada and Australia, but we also have a lot of reach in the Middle East and a lot of Asian territories as well. We'd pick the work sections that we wanted. So for this example, let's go for Uniclass, and we'd hit save. And then as a specifier, this is where I would start to add the product. So if I was going to be looking to add linked seats in there, which is the type of changing room seat that I was looking for, I can just search for this, and then it can bring in the template. So I'm going to add that in, and I'm going to add two different types in. So it brings in two templates. And the reason being is I'm going to show you the different ways of how you can actually add the product to spec. So we go into the content, and the first one, we can click on this, and this might be seat A that we're going to be looking for. And then this is where MBS really comes into its own. So if we click into the manufacturer tab now, what you can see here is we've actually got a list of all the manufacturers that provide changing room seats in MBS source, and they've been pulled straight through. So I'm just going to click on one of the Boyko ones that we were looking at just. So if I click on that, you can see that we can contact the manufacturer directly. We can see when this information was last published. We can read some of the features and benefits. We can take a look at the application. We can read the clause. And we can also see what third-party certificates it's got associated to it. So all of that information that's MBS source is now in the specification tool. Once I've decided that that's the product I want to add, I can just click Add to Spec, and Chorus will automatically populate the specification with that manufacturer's information. If there are anything that's classed as a product variant, it could be different colors of material. If you're making doors, you might have different U values or different numbers of glazing that could go into these things. Those can all be added as variants under one listing, so it doesn't have to be a separate product. And then we can just go and pick those. So this manufacturer here has the seat available in different standard sizes, and then we could just go and pick the one that we want. Once that's added in, we click Save, and that product is added to Spec. Going back into the content now, I'm just going to take a quick look at Type A, and you can see that we've now got a new template for the different types. So it might be that we're having an island unit, and then we're going to have some mounted to the wall, for example, in this particular case. I'm going to call this Type B. I'm just going to edit that and change this. Chorus does have some default naming conventions. But now what we can do, if we went back to the actual product listing and source, you can see we've got the Add to Spec button here. Now I could click that, and I could just drop that into the Chorus tool. But one of the other things I wanted to show you is within the partner platform that Elliott showed earlier, you can actually use something that we provide into the manufacturers that have got subscriptions called web integration. So Boyko, for example, here have actually used this, and they've done an absolutely fantastic job of integrating this. What you can do is configure web pages based off your MBS listings. The tool from MBS generates an HTML code, and your web developers can just upload that into your website. So you can see here we're actually on Boyko's website. You can see the web address there. We're looking at that from their website. So if the specifier has actually gone to the manufacturer's site through Google instead of going through MBS, they can actually see these listings now. So in this case, we were thinking of maybe going for a wall unit. You can see that we can now take a look at all of that MBS information directly within the manufacturer's page. But importantly, that Add to Spec button is also in there as well, exactly the same as it is in MBS source. So if I click Add to Spec, see the product's copied now, the little chip's changed. And if I go into here, and just with a quick Control V, it's saying, yep, is this the information you want to check? Yes, it is. Click Add Product. And that product has now been added directly to the spec from the manufacturer's website. So that's how things are added to specifications within the MBS platform. Elliott's shown you how you can make the most of your subscriptions, but what I now want to jump is show you the analytics. So what we can see here is a fictitious manufacturer. I didn't want to show you any specific data from another manufacturer, just obviously for GDPR, but for courtesy reasons as well. You can take a look at your products and the analytics within the partner platform, configure by date range. You can see how many times you've been added to specifications there. But likewise, you can go and look at your products. You can see which products were specified by whom, what project they were applied to, what date they were done. But we've now got this Glenigan link as well, and this is a really key feature. If you subscribe to Glenigan as well as MBS, not only can you see who specified the product and you can get your product specified, you can actually link that straight through into Glenigan. You can see what status the project's at because Glenigan's team are actually monitoring all that information. You can check out all the project details, where it's at with construction stages, procurement stages, etc. If the tender's been returned and so forth. Check any of the update history. So Glenigan are actually monitoring this day to day. For anybody that's not aware, Glenigan and MBS are actually part of the same group, sister companies. But what this now does is through your MBS analytics, you can actually not only see the specifier, but you could then go and see the key procurement people. So if it's a subcontractor, for example, that's responsible for the purchase of the product, you might have followed all that process through with the specifier to get into the spec and give you that bigger opportunity of being procured at the end. But now you can actually connect that to the people that are going to be making the decisions on procurement, so you can follow all of that through. A lot of manufacturers would have done this previously with their sales teams, but it would have been separate pieces of one puzzle. Now it's all in one place, so you can do that seamless integration and actually monitor and contain and collect all of that information, and making sure that you're getting that content right through from the early development stages of the project where you're being researched and looked into through your products through MBS, through the written specification process or the BIM model, making that contact with the specifier through the MBS analytics, but then also following that through direct from MBS into Glenigan and making sure that you're dealing with the relevant people within the contractors as well. Highly powerful, and hopefully you'll find that really useful moving forward. The third thing I wanted to show, so we've seen Source and Chorus now, is our IBA CPD. MBS, obviously through our historic nature with the relationship with our IBA, have been providing CPD content for a long time, and we've got thousands of manufacturers are actually providing CPD material in terms of this. So CPD, for anybody that doesn't know, is continual professional development. And if you're a chartered architect in particular, you have to achieve a minimum of 35 hours and a minimum of 100 points each year of CPD to remain chartered. So for manufacturers, this is a really, really valuable way of getting your products and systems and your knowledge in front of the specification community, but also helping them on their educational journey. So it might be that they've got a project that they want to know some specifics about. They might be dealing with a new material or a new design. They might just want to be looking at what's new in the market. But also they've still got this mandate to actually go and do that. So manufacturers can produce a CPD effectively. The most common form is in PowerPoint, and today the most common delivery method is through Teams or Zoom like this. But face-to-face is still important. Go at lunchtime, provide the sandwiches, for example, and run the CPD. But it could be other things like knowledge articles. It could even be a factory tour. There's a whole host of different things that you can do that class as CPD content. But if you're an MBS customer or you're not an MBS customer, you can look at providing this, and it's actually MBS that will facilitate this through the RIBA. Importantly, RIBA CPD is the only CPD content that's assessed by RIBA themselves and allows manufacturers to use the RIBA logo on their content. And obviously because of that, and because it's the RIBA that are actually mandating this regulation, the majority of specifiers, and the last time we researched it, it was 76%, believe that it's important that the RIBA assess the CPD content that they receive. The reason for that is obviously it needs to be educational. It'd be very easy for a manufacturer to go in with a full marketing sales pitch, which obviously there are elements within that. That's the whole reason you're going to do it, but it's all about building that relationship up and getting the manufacturer's name, brand, and trust with the specification community, which will build that relationship up. And then obviously they can keep coming back to you time and time again when they've got requirements around that. If you want to know more about CPD, you can go to the mbs.com, and you can see here I'm just on the mbs.com website. Go to the manufacturers section, and then under platform, you can just go across to CPD Providers Network, click on that, and there's a whole host of information on there. There's a report on the changing landscape of CPD. This was produced at the beginning of this year. There's information about what CPD is, why it's used, who it's used by, and so forth. We've got a fact sheet that you can download. We've got video on a case study from one of our MBS customers, but then also some other helpful tools and documents and things that you can take a look at there. So if you want to know more about CPD, highly recommend taking a look at that or dropping us a note, and we'd be happy to give you a talk through it. Finally, the latest sort of tool in MBS's suite is the MBS Partner Marketing. And effectively, this is a range of marketing and sponsorship opportunities. So it's going to allow manufacturers to gain even more of an enhanced reach with the community, obviously, because of the number of users that we've got in the platform and the reach that we've got through things like email, social media, and so forth like that. There's a lot of opportunities that we can work with you to actually gain presence. This is things like webinars, newsletters, social media posts, even direct email and online advertising. There's a lot of things that we can do there for you. So if you'd like to know more about that, again, please drop us a note. It might be that you've got a new product launch coming up or something, and you want to get that in front of people. Obviously, this is key for manufacturers, or if there's something that's a particular sort of hot topic in the industry and it's something that you specialize in, there's a lot of opportunities there to get you directly in front of the specification community. If you want to know a bit more about that, again, just visit the mbs.com, and then under that manufacturers tab, and the platform itself, we've got a dedicated area for the MBS Partner Marketing. So you can take a look at that there. And you can go down, and we've actually got a media pack. So we've got an online catalog effectively that you can take a look at that will tell you what we can do, the different offers. There's loads of different levels within this. So there's something for everybody's budget effectively or needs. So yeah, feel free to take a look at that. Or if you have any more questions, just drop us a note. And that's the end of the presentation for me. I'd just like to do a little summary. So hopefully you found the session useful today, particularly if you are an MBS customer that's looking to enhance the amount of specifications that you're getting or the reach that you're getting with the community, or likewise if you're a prospect, hopefully it's demonstrated what MBS can do for you and as a valuable partner. So if you are listing products with MBS, particularly for what Elliott showed earlier on, ensure the listings are as concise as possible. We've got this suite of tools there, and they're there for a reason. If they're complete and you're using them effectively, they will do what they say on the tin. Consider your keywords. Some manufacturers might just drop the odd one or two in, but there is a number of those. I think it was 15 that Elliott mentioned earlier. Use as many as you can. People won't always type things correctly in the search, or if they're in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, they might call these things something else. Past example, me when I was working for a sanitary ware manufacturer, the term tap and faucet. Tap's very much a UK thing, but if you're looking at reach internationally, making sure you're getting these keywords in there. Use clear, unambiguous data and imagery. So particularly things with like your photos, it's good having ambient shots in there with the product situated and it's in use sort of environment with other things around it. But have a pack shot on there, have the product on its own so people know exactly what it is they're specifying. It's something that's been raised by the industry time and time again, and the Code for Construction Product Information is actually trying to push people down this route of only having photos of the actual product. We say in photos, it could be a 3D rendered image. Obviously, these are used more widely today because it's a lot easier to gain that. And again, likewise, you can upload those, but maybe have both. Provide third-party certificates where possible, again, relating to standards, conformance, any fire safety or building safety performance requirements that you've got, but don't dismiss sustainability. It is arguably the number one thing that people are looking for now. So if you've got FSC certification, RAS certification, EPDs, anything like that, get those uploaded in the platform because it will set you apart from the competition if you have. And keep your case studies up to date. A lot of manufacturers will upload a load of information to MBS and then just forget about it. Obviously, this is a live tool. It's being used day to day. The industry is changing day to day. And the functionality is there for your benefit. Make sure that you're keeping things refreshed, keep them up to date, and it'll stand you in good stead. Consider the MBS marketing tools that we've just shown, whether that's knowledge stuff through CPD or whether it's the MBS Partner Marketing functionality. There's a lot there that can help boost your visibility. So please feel free to chat to us about that. And then obviously the efficiency gains that you can get through actually monitoring projects through MBS at the Glenigan integration can hopefully be very, very valuable to your sales teams and help secure those orders after all the effort that you've gone in through the specification process. That said, I'd like to thank Elliott for joining me today, and I've been Lee Jones. That's the end of the presentation, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you'd like to contact MBS for anything that you've seen, the telephone number's on the screen there, or you can drop us a note at manufacturers@mbs.com. If you've dropped any questions into the chat through the session, we will follow those up separately afterwards. So keep an eye on your inbox, and we'll reply to you as soon as we can on that. Thank you very much.